Good afternoon, viewers. The Finance Minister has spoken for more than 2 hours in Parliament this morning. Since then, ordinary income taxpayers are happy with the relief they've got. The stock market is happy. Most businessmen are happy. And even economists are happy because the deficit has been controlled. To ask and explain how he managed to do all this, we have the Finance Minister, Mr. Jaitley, here with us. Mr. Jaitley, good afternoon and welcome. I want to start by looking at the microeconomic underpinning to your budget, because it's a difficult year with the monsoons, and yet the economic survey has painted a fairly upbeat picture on growth with an upper limit of 5.9%. Your tax revenue assumptions assume a great deal of buoyancy at 18% growth. Is there an act of faith in assuming that the economy will do well this year, and some of your budget arithmetic may come under stress if the economy does not do that well?
You see, I've also based it on 3-4 considerations outside the budget document. The Indian economy had acquired a lot of buoyancy. For 3-4 years in a row, we were around 9%. And suddenly in the last 3-4 years, people started losing faith in us. People lost faith because we couldn't decide. We couldn't clear projects expeditiously. Our tax policy had gone haywire. We were taxing people retrospectively. People were uncertain to the extent of tax they have to pay. If policy paralysis was a phrase which has come into the economic idiom, tax terrorism was the new phrase.
Yes.
So you had to actually rescue the economy out of these concepts. But then we had two sudden advantages. Unexpectedly, we were hoping to win the election, but only in an extreme situation where we thought that a single party majority will be there. We got it. Our allies are very supportive. And therefore, along with certain other regional parties, we even have an ability to reach 2/3 in the lower house. And there are not too many decisions which go through legislation. Most decisions are executive in nature. So if governments can't decide, they themselves are to be blamed. You can't blame the opposition, you can't blame the people. So decision making has become easier. For instance, I am not disclosing a secret if I can tell you, the Prime Minister has had a series of sittings with me, or I've had it with him on this budget. He's gone through every proposal. And I couldn't have done much if I didn't have his support. So you need a Prime Minister, you need a party which fully backs the Finance Minister. Now, having said this, the global investing community, which had lost faith in the Indian economy, has shown a renewed interest. They are not investing, but they are looking back at us. We have to respond to that signal. The domestic investors who were looking for better pastures outside are willing to look back, provided you create a conducive environment. You aren't entirely wrong if you say the assessment which is based is, we have to provide them with the ease of doing business in India. So what is it that I have done? As far as large investment is concerned, some doors which were closed, we've opened. Let's say insurance, defense.
Are you sure you'll be able to carry through insurance?
I'm quite certain. I'm reasonably certain. You see, insurance has gone through a strange kind of journey, but I'm quite hopeful we'll be able to carry it through. And I'm sure the Congress party, having pressed for it for the last so many years, itself can't alter its positions.
Well, you change your position, they might change their position.
Well, I think people watch very closely now. We didn't rule out 49 at any stage, even when Mr. Chidambaram was speaking to us. Different formulations were being discussed. I'm still willing to settle for a formulation, or rather, my present proposal probably will be much better. Then we looked at townships, we looked at real estate, we looked at encouraging the housing sector. So the housing loan incentive, which is a little incentive that I have given, 50,000 at a time, I've increased it, is all intended in that direction. REITs couldn't come about because there was no pass-through tax facility available. I've given it to them. Manufacturing sector, 2 weeks ago I had announced a certain set of measures, extending Mr. Chidambaram's measures by 6 more months. I've announced further measures
investment allowance.
So I have no hesitation in saying we are not a government which believes that you raise taxation rates and you will collect more. Nobody will come, so you probably will collect nothing. So you reduce the slabs, expand the base, enlarge the economic activity. Simultaneously, with regard to the common citizen, incentivize him to spend more and save more. So my tax proposals with regard to an average taxpayer have kept this in mind. They've also kept the inflation in mind. I had a very important challenge. How do you clean up the issues which were pending during the UPA? They had some internal issues. They had issues of coalition and also not having a majority. So in the opening part of the budget speech, to the extent it was possible, I've decided, I'd agreed to give a roadmap for them. And those are all specific proposals. They are not only faith or hope. Now, if you do so much, there are still variables. Supposing the oil prices zoom up, I'll have a setback. Supposing there is a very bad monsoon. If we have a moderately good monsoon, which is the best we can hope at this stage, I think it's possible at least to expand the growth rates. And therefore, once you are in, despite those constraints, whether it is 5.6 or 5.9, I won't go into that debate, it's too early to do that. But somebody had to set the direction, for which you needed clarity and you needed support of the party and the Prime Minister. And I can only tell you the Prime Minister is one step ahead of me. It's not otherwise. Otherwise, the railway...
What you're saying is that your sort of optimism about the economy is grounded in this whole set of circumstances.
We've done so much, and therefore people have to come back. The investors have to come back. The economy has to pick up. And therefore you can't have low tax buoyancy and low growth rates indefinitely. Therefore you have to break that cycle.
There's a lot of comment before in the run-up to the budget that the previous year's accounts had a lot of unspent money which had not been accounted for, and the spillover would affect this year's numbers. Now you've actually kept the deficit under control.
You see, I have kept the deficit under control, and I've also...
Was there no spillover? Is there a spillover that you absorbed?
No, I'll tell you. There is some spillover which will always be there.
It's not abnormal.
I'll tell you, some will always be there, the extent. Now, for instance, a large part of the expenditure of the fourth quarter is always reflected in the next year's budget.
That's what Mr. Chidambaram said. But the general assessment was there was more than that at work.
So, tax refunds could be the other.
Correct.
Now, there is some facility which finance ministers have in keeping the red lines in place.
So, you don't think that's a stress point?
You see, it is, because if I am confronted with unpaid bills, then I certainly have a greater challenge. But at the moment, if you've seen, ever since I have assumed office, I have not made any negative remarks about either my predecessor. I've had good things to say. I've had, they also had a challenging situation. I'm glad Mr. Chidambaram himself has said that the economic survey is an appropriate economic document rather than a political document.
Yes.
And therefore my job now is not to look back, it's to look ahead.
Correct.